Open Google Maps. Find Norway. Now, zoom into the fjords, those narrow channels of black water cutting between cliffs so steep sunlight only hits the bottom for 2 hours a day. Now imagine sailing out of one of those fjords in an open wooden boat. No roof, no GPS, no compass you can trust. 30 men. 6 weeks of open ocean ahead of you, and a specific monastery on the northeast coast of England as your target. Not the coast, not England. That exact monastery. You arrive within 2 miles of it, in 793 AD. The question isn't whether Vikings could navigate. The question is how they did it better than most modern sailors could without instruments. The popular image is always the same. Vikings squinting at the horizon, guessing, getting lucky. Brutal men who stumbled onto coastlines by accident and called it a raid. That image is wrong. And the archaeology that proves it wrong is sitting in a physics lab in Paris, where researchers spent 3 years testing a small piece of Icelandic crystal and confirmed that your ancestors were using quantum optics 1,000 years before we had a word for it. Here is the first problem they solved. The sun disappears for weeks at a time in the North Atlantic. Cloud cover so thick and so persistent that a modern sailor with no instruments would have no reference point for days. No sun means no east, no west, no bearing at all. A ship in those conditions drifts, and a drifting ship in the North Atlantic in the 9th century means everyone on it dies. Vikings knew this, so they solved it with a stone. Iceland spar, a naturally occurring crystal of calcite that does something unusual when you hold it up to light, even diffuse, cloud-filtered light. It polarizes the incoming photons and reveals the exact direction of the sun through complete overcast. You hold it up, you rotate it slowly, until the 2 circles of light it projects become equal in brightness, and that direction is the sun. Accurate to within 1 degree of bearing. In 2013, physicists at the University of Rennes confirmed this with controlled experiments under simulated North Atlantic cloud conditions. 1 degree of accuracy. With a rock. Every longship carried one, not as a curiosity, as standard navigation equipment, but the solar stone was only the beginning. Because knowing where the sun is gives you 1 axis. To navigate across 3,000 miles of open ocean, you need a complete system, and Vikings had one, stored entirely in human memory. Viking navigators memorized routes as oral verse. Not poetry for pleasure. Functional poetry. Sequences of landmarks, star angles, wave patterns, bird species, water temperatures, and sailing durations, encoded into structured verse so they could be recalled under pressure, in darkness, in a storm, after 3 weeks, without sleep. Every crew member learned them. If the navigator went overboard, the ship still arrived. The knowledge wasn't in one man's head. It was distributed across 30. Researchers studying Icelandic sagas in the 1990s found consistent embedded navigation data throughout texts previously dismissed as mythology. Specific star angles, specific current descriptions, specific timing sequences that match actual oceanographic conditions in the North Atlantic. These weren't stories. They were instruction manuals disguised as stories. And then, there was the ocean itself. The North Atlantic has a current structure so consistent that a navigator who understood it could use the water as a road. Vikings identified and named specific current paths centuries before European cartographers drew the first accurate map of the Atlantic. They tracked water temperature with their hands. They tracked wave interference patterns, the way deep ocean swells change character when a large landmass is within 100 miles, long before that landmass is visible. They tracked bird species and flight directions, which change predictably within 50 miles of land. They tracked whale feeding patterns, which cluster around specific underwater geography. None of this was written down. All of it was accurate. And all of it was taught, father to son, navigator to apprentice, for 300 years. Here is where it gets extraordinary. In 1001 AD, Leif Erikson sailed from Greenland to a continent that no European civilization knew existed. He called it Vinland. We call it Newfoundland. He arrived within 40 miles of where modern researchers place his camp. Across an ocean no European map had ever drawn. Using a solar stone, memorized verse, wave patterns, and birds 500 years before Columbus. Without a single instrument Columbus didn't also have, except Columbus had maps. Leif had none. In 2003, the United States Navy quietly updated its dead reckoning training protocols. GPS spoofing, the ability to feed false location data to satellite navigation systems, had become a documented military threat. Enemy vessels could make a ship believe it was 200 miles from where it actually was. The Navy's solution was to reintroduce manual dead reckoning as a required competency for every officer. The same principles Viking navigators used in the 9th century: sun angle, wave pattern, elapsed time, estimated drift. A knotted rope cannot be hacked. A solar stone has no signal to jam. The instruments changed. The physics never did. The next time you open Google Maps and drop a pin, understand what you're doing. You're asking a satellite 36,000 kilometers above the Earth to solve the same problem a 30-year-old Viking navigator solved with a crystal, a rope, and 300 years of inherited knowledge, encoded in verse, distributed across a crew, and accurate enough to find a specific beach on a continent no one had named yet. They didn't navigate, despite having nothing. They navigated because they understood everything that mattered, and they passed it on in the only format that couldn't be lost, stolen, or sunk: a song.